Guess who's back? It's me, and I'm happy to say that we've had a pretty good uptick of people joining the movement. So yeah, the activism's going well. Doing these streams seems to help a lot. Making the videos seems to help a lot. We're getting lots of people joining the Discord at the minute. In the last few days, we've had quite a few activists join, and they sound really serious. In fact, just after my last stream, we had quite a few people joining the WhatsApp, about 3 or 4, saying they want to do activism. So that's pretty cool. That's why we're doing activism. That's what it's all about. It's about growing the movement. I'm doing these streams, I'm making these videos to get new activists to join the movement. That's the main reason to do it, and it is working. So let's keep on going. We just need to keep growing the community that wants to end suffering. Simple as that. Once we get big enough, then we'll actually be able to do it. That's just how it works, You want to do something, you need enough people to do it. So, what other choice is there other than to grow the movement and grow the team? Hello, how's it going?
Yeah, not too bad. How are you, James?
Good, thank you.
Now, look, you've said previously we have to end the existence of animals because it's something they can't do themselves. Is this correct?
Yeah.
Now, us as humans, you also think we are in a position to eliminate all forms of suffering, correct?
Yeah, potentially.
So what's the argument as to why you shouldn't just boot down your neighbor's door and unalive his cat?
Yeah, random acts of taking things into your own hands.
But it's not. It's preventing suffering. It's doing what you said.
Yeah. Well,
it's
I'm
what
answering your
by.
question. Do you want an answer or not?
I would like an answer without you pivoting.
I'm not pivoting. I didn't even get a word out. Okay. Thank you, Exasperated, for coming on and for such a great time there. Taking things into your own hands is not the right thing to do. So we are against random acts of violence, random acts of self-harm or euthanasia. It has to be done in an organized way. Otherwise, it's not responsible, and it's not done in a sensible and smart way, right? If you're just doing random things, then you're not considering the bigger picture. And so, no, we're actually against that happening. Because it will cause more chaos, right? If we say to everyone, right, go and commit acts of violence, there's going to be no stability. We need that stability, safety, and, we need some sort of society. If it's just chaos, then we're not going to achieve anything. It's just going to be, a free-for-all. So, we're against, people just, going and committing acts of violence, obviously, in the same way that the police would be against you taking the law into your own hands. So, the police wouldn't want you to go busting down the door of your neighbor because you think he's got a child that he's abusing or an animal that he's, sadistically torturing. They would say, no, leave it to the authorities. And there's a reason for that. So it's just obvious, isn't it? Do better, mate, do better. All right, the queue is empty, so let's get some people in. Let's get some conversations going, some debates. We should absolutely end all suffering. How could you possibly argue against that? You'd have to be evil, right? You'd have to be a sicko. To say that we shouldn't even try to prevent suffering, you have to be a monster, basically. And yeah, you have 2 types of people in this world. You have selfish people, and then you have selfless people. You have people without empathy. You have people with empathy that care about doing the right thing. Most people don't care about doing the right thing. They don't care about what the best thing for the world is. They just don't give a damn. So that's animalistic, and that's what keeps reproduction going. It's a stupid thing, a bad thing. Hello, how's it going?
If you're pro-extinction, why haven't you unalived yourself? That seems to be a pay and not pay.
Yeah,
that's a contradiction.
No, it's hilarious that you think it's a contradiction, but it's not.
I can demonstrate how it is. I can demonstrate it if you want.
It's hilariously easy to do that. which is
No,
the
see, you don't actually believe in extinction. You just hold an absolute
okay.
absurd view of threshold.
So it's hilariously easy to disprove you, because if there's no activism coming to forcefully cause extinction, guess what? There's not going to be an extinction. So, wow, do better, guys. I'm clapping for how bad that was. The queue is currently empty, so we need some people to join. We need some debate, some conversations. We need some activism, some people to join the movement. Wow, he's actually saying that I was running while he was interrupting every response I gave. And then we do want debates, but no, Alex, no, we do want debates, but there is a limit to how much, child abuse support we can platform on this stream. If people like yourself are going to say that, children should be abused, that's potentially going to encourage actual abusers listening to your message, right? So no, I'm not going to platform that infinitely. Maybe I'll let you back up if I feel like it, but realistically, you have to be responsible when streaming. You have to be responsible when ending suffering. So we should be responsible and not irresponsible monkeys, which is what people want and advocate for. So, not much I can do until someone joins the queue, but we could talk extinction. Why should any child suffer? Why should any child be in danger? That's kind of what this comes down to. So extinctionism is about safety. That's what it's all about. It's not about watching the world burn. It's not about violence. It's about safety, right? Safety comes first. People like Alex in the chat think that children should be in danger. Why? I don't know. I guess they just prioritize happiness and they're incapable of prioritizing suffering. So even if you have a world where 99% of life is getting tortured horrifically, these people are incapable of saying, wow, that should stop. Right? It can get to the point where it's 99% of life being tortured. And people like Alex will still say, this is good, this is great, continue it. It could get to 99.9% of life being tortured. And Alex would still be saying, I support this. But the thing is, it doesn't need to get to that point. It already is at that point. Over 99.999% of life gets tortured and killed as a child. Ironically, it's actually even worse than that. The thing is, it would just take so long if I pronounced the full statistic every time. But there's 15 zeros after the first few numbers, so it's a really ridiculously big number in terms of how many life forms are born on this planet each year that will die painfully during childhood. It's basically the number is so big that most people don't even know, what the name of the number is. Obviously you got billion, trillion, and it keeps going. It's one of those that's just so big and rare that most people don't even know it. And yet people like Alex, they're happy for all of those people to be tortured. Yes, Blue Velvet, you can ask a question. Absolutely, go for it. We can take some questions from the comments while we're waiting for someone to join. Alex thinks that I need a psychiatrist. What for, though? So that I can support child abuse like you, Alex? I think you need a psychiatrist. Yeah. Let's get some invitations out. So, as I was saying earlier, there's no reason to put children in danger, to put animals in danger, to put people in danger. The only reason you would do that is for what? For pleasure, for happiness. Does it make sense to do that? No. Does it make sense to put children into danger so that some can have fun? I would say that safety is not optional, whereas having fun is absolutely optional, right? What happens if you don't have that fun? Nothing. What happens if you're not alive? Nothing. What happens if you're being tortured? Wow, ooh, now suddenly something is happening, and it's terribly horrific, right? If I stare into space and there's nothing there, there's no suffering. But if you have a child being abused, an animal being tortured, oh wow, there's some serious suffering going on. So yeah, non-existence is better. It provides safety, and in a horrifically dangerous world like this one, safety is paramount. People really think that this world is great, that life is a good thing to exist, but they couldn't have it more wrong. Life is the worst thing that can possibly exist, because the world we live in is basically a torture device. Why would that be a good thing for life to exist in? Obviously it's not. So they have this kind of stupidity where they're unable to even consider that life could be a bad thing. Even if you put it into the worst conditions, like we actually have in this world, they're still incapable of understanding that it's bad. So, you put a child into a meat grinder and they're like, I support this. And I'm not even exaggerating, right? Nature is a meat grinder. If you have a baby in nature, it's going to get eaten alive by wolves, right? So why do people like Alex support that? It's because they have a brain damage, basically, a disability. And this disability is forced onto life by nature and evolution and reproduction. We evolved to have this disability so that we see children being tortured and we think it's a good thing. And we say, yeah, let's keep reproducing and keep making them suffer. All right. Dude, Alex is definitely disabled. And so are you, exasperated. Because all humans, with a few exceptions, are extremely disabled when it comes to understanding what's right and wrong and whether or not suffering is good or bad. And it is a disability because you are not able, right? You are disabled from understanding that children being tortured is unacceptable. And again, that is, I'm not making this up. I'm not trying to insult him. This is an actual disability. It's a real thing. This disability exists so that we reproduce, right? If you have loads of humans and they don't have this disability, they're going to go extinct. But the stupid ones like Alex in the chat that have this brain damage, they're going to keep reproducing because they're brain damaged. They don't understand that it's a bad thing. So that's how you get people like Alex who support, child abuse. And, there could literally be an ocean of children being abused and, they'll still say it's a good thing. So they're suffering blind, they are abuse blind, and moral blind, logic blind. They are effectively little minions, little demons, little orcs from Lord of the Rings that they are villains, they are monsters. Now, they might have a nice face, they might smile, but they are monsters, really. So, any person or life form that, thrives on the suffering of children, it's a monster, right? Let's just call it what it is. We dress up nice and we build beautiful cities on top of bodies and bones. And, once all of the, cruelty is done, we have a nice looking house that we can live in. And the suffering is gone because they've all been tortured to death. And then at that point we say, look, the world is great. There's no suffering. But, while eating meat and stuff like that. Truly amazing. Sorry, Blue Velvet, I waited, but I missed if you put a question in. So let's see. Did Blue Velvet ask something? Where are your sources for this? Biology, basically. All right, if you did ask a question, I've missed it. But if you want to ask a question, join the queue. Hit this button right now. Come and debate me, discuss with me, have a conversation, ask your questions. I'm not afraid to debate Alex. He's not even in the queue. I think Alex is more afraid to debate me. That's sad. All right, let's get the next person on. We've got... oh, they cancelled it. No. All right, let's do it. Let's do little old Alex.
Yo.
Hello.
Hey, do me a favor, don't drop me, because you're just going to prove my point that you're incapable of debating. Cool?
Okay, Alex. If you're going to try and control my stream from the moment you come on, like, that's just, cringe, negative behavior, right? Nobody wants to hear some guy that's like, don't drop me! Just come on and say, yeah, look, I want to discuss, I want to go over this again, but, you come on with that cringe attitude. Nah. That's not being afraid, that's being afraid of the cringe. All right, so the queue is empty. Let's get some people in. Let's get some conversations going. I should drop people on site like that, right? I should kick their asses out. Why should I subject my audience to their cringe, rubbish? All they can say is, no, I'm not cringe. You're just afraid to debate me. Look at him. He's doing it now. Really, it's just pure cringe. Okay, Blue Velvet is coming up. This could be a good conversation. Let's get ready for this. Hello.
Hello, I got a question. How do you define suffering, and would you say that suffering is an objective thing?
Yeah, I'd say it objectively exists, and it's experiences that you would want to avoid, that sentient beings would want to avoid.
But being sentient beings, would you not agree that different sentient beings have different views on suffering?
No, not really.
You wouldn't argue
because
that...
You see, the thing is, we're designed by nature with a nervous system, right? We feel pain, we feel fear. So, the experience might change slightly, but it's all the same stuff, really.
How do you explain masochism, then?
It's an exception, a rarity. It's not something worth considering.
That doesn't make any sense to say it's not something worth considering.
Why?
You can't just say it's a rarity and an exception without any...
It is a rarity and an exception.
Not really.
Well, you think masochism is like a mainstream thing, do you?
I mean, it's not exactly like underground.
So how many baby animals being eaten alive after a few days of being born do you think are sadomasochists?
I don't really think it exists in the animal kingdom because they don't have,
Of course not. So why the hell are you talking about it?
Because I can.
Well, thank you for that riveting conversation about something so important that the only reason you're talking about it is because you can. Really. Do better, guys. Come on, let's get some better guests on, some more exciting guests on. If you're going to join, have an interesting opinion, an interesting question for me, please. Hello.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. I've never heard anything this crazy before.
Okay.
So how does this work? I've just seen this. So
Yeah,
something that's
I
been
mean,
going on for billions of years.
Yeah.
And then you come along and decide you have the right to end it all, or you think you're right to.
Well, what would be wrong with that? Why do you need the right to do that?
Why do you come along, and why do you think you're right to end something that's billions
Yeah,
of
well,
years
if you
old?
see something wrong, you should do something about it, right? If you see that, there's lots of suffering, then you should
What's
do
wrong
something about it.
something that happened a billion years ago, when there wasn't any humans and there were dinosaurs or little organisms?
Are you living in
around?
the
Is that wrong?
past? Are you living in the
No,
past?
you just told me. You just said.
You're living in the past.
So is there something wrong with that to you?
If I just randomly asked you, is there something wrong with the fact that you fell over as a 5-year-old? You'd be like, what the hell kind of question is this?
No, but if you say life is wrong, yeah.
Yep.
So what's wrong with a billion years ago? What was wrong with the life?
So you
that's
are living in the
around?
past.
Okay, so what's wrong with the life that's around now?
Are we connected through a time machine right now? Are you trapped in the past?
I've just
Do you need help?
I'm talking the present
Do
now.
you
If you've
require
got a problem with
assistance?
that,
Could we
Okay, you
send
have
a
a problem in the
time
past.
search and rescue
I
squad?
think you probably have a problem in the past because something
Should
might
we
have
send a
happened to
search and
you in the
rescue squad
past.
back in time to find you?
Okay, so in the present now, yeah, we're here in the present.
Oh, wow, you made it back.
Yeah, I'm back. So in the present, what's wrong with life?
It's basically like a torture device. It's cruel. It's most life born is better off not being born because the suffering is too overwhelmingly extreme.
Okay, so how are you speaking for every living organism?
Well, it's not hard to do as long as you know have a good head on your shoulders. It's easy to do.
I don't think that. So I
Yeah,
think
because you
life's
don't have a
really
good head on
good.
your shoulders.
No, I think
Yeah.
something might have happened to you that's caused you. If this isn't a joke, I think you must be joking. But if it's not,
So
then
look,
I
do
do
you
feel
think
sorry
it's
for
a
you.
good thing when a child gets abused to death?
Of course not.
Do you think it would be better if that didn't happen?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, that's our movement is for ending all suffering, preventing all suffering,
By
right?
your. All right. Okay. Good luck. I'm sorry for whatever happened to you in your life
Well, I'm
that's
sorry
led you to
that for whatever
this.
happened to you where you can't actually
Oh, I'm
argue your
happy.
position.
You're okay.
So all you can do
All
is
right, mate.
laugh and
Have a good
scoff and
one.
say, I've got to go now because
I
I've
don't
said
have to go. I'll
something
keep
that,
talking to you if
yeah, do it
you.
then. Go on then.
All
You're
right
the
then.
one trying to
So
escape.
I'm not trying to escape.
Right.
All right. So life's bad in your eyes, yeah? All life.
Most
Every.
life,
What
yeah.
about? So have you ever had anything good happen to you?
Okay. You're straw manning, you're asking cringe loaded questions like all life is bad. People come on and say that. So you think all life is bad? What, you think someone eating an ice cream is bad? No, obviously not. And you're asking a stupid question like that because you are stupid. Someone enjoying ice cream, there's no suffering going on there. So why would that be a bad thing? Obviously, it would be illogical if I said that all life is 100% bad all of the time. I never said that, so trying to strawman that onto me, pretty desperate and cringe. Okay, so the queue is looking pretty weak as usual. We need some more interesting people. We need some smarter people. Let's see. Who can we invite to the stream? Let's invite all of my friends. Ha ha ha. All right, I'm spamming the invitations. They're going out. People are getting spam notifications as we speak. The spam is real. The spam is overwhelming. Still spamming. Still spamming. Still spamming. Still spamming. All right, that's enough spam. Whew, tired from all that. Okay, we've got Illuminado. Illuminado, hello.
Could be as up.
Say again? Oh no. Okay, well, while the queue is quite literally empty, I'll get back to discussing. Or maybe we should take some questions from the comments. Hello? That's the problem. Like, I don't know if there's a way to just invite people to view. I've only seemed to be able to invite people to actually come on as a guest, even if they're not on the stream right now. But I am rubbish at TikTok, so ultimately, it's probably my fault. Is the queue empty? No, Blue Velvet's in it. We can get them back on, I guess. While we wait. Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, am I in the queue?
You were, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I didn't mean to join.
Fair enough. No worries. All right, we do have finally someone else trying to join. Men G8. And hello.
Hello.
Hi, how's it
Hear
going?
me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Can you hear me good?
Yes.
Why do you think that people must be erased?
So that there's no more suffering.
Yes, but will be no love too. What do you think about that? and good people. Here is, do you
Yeah,
think?
yeah. But it's more important to have no suffering.
Why? Suffering is the only thing that is bring wisdom in our lives.
But only for the small minority of lucky people like you. Most life that suffers has a horrible experience. So, we shouldn't think about a small group of lucky, selfish people. We should think about the majority of life who are being tortured to death.
Then you think love is torture then? Woman,
Well,
woman
again,
wanted
it's not
men to
like all
do.
life is torture. That's a cringe opinion. But most life is being tortured to death. Most life is born as an animal in nature and gets eaten alive as a baby. So that's not a good thing. You wouldn't want that. Your mother wouldn't want that. Nobody should have to experience that.
Oh, yeah, of course, but we are born to be dead someday. It is part of life. It
It
is
doesn't. It doesn't have to be though.
it's normal.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be though.
Yes. There is no nothing internal in this life. I think
There's what?
nothing eternal. Everything suffer. Everything is erased sometime.
Yeah, but that doesn't make it okay. A rapist wouldn't say to the police, "Well, it's over now, so why are you angry?" Right?
Do you think the life is infinity then, or not?
We don't know yet.
I don't know yet. Do you believe in soul?
No.
Oh, I understand now.
Yeah.
I understand.
Well, thank you for coming on. I appreciate your time and your questions. We've got a couple other people in the queue now, so let's keep on going. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Are you religious?
No.
Okay, so our goal here would be to shift everyone away from God, because committing what's the word? I don't want to say it on live, like
Causing extinction?
suicide. If Christians were to commit suicide, then they would not go to heaven.
Whoa. What on earth are you talking about? Are you on the right stream?
Yeah, but you're gonna have to convince every single Christian or religious person to not believe in their God, basically.
Why would we have to do that?
Because if they cause extinction for themselves, like committing suicide, then they will not go to heaven.
Well, firstly, there is no heaven. And secondly, we aren't asking people to do that. We would do it for them, like it says, forcefully.
Okay.
It's not
That's
really
fair.
an acceptable thing to ask people to do that for themselves. It's not fair.
Yeah, that's fair. No, I agree.
Great. Well,
Cheers.
thank you for coming on. If you agree with ending all suffering, join the pro-extinction movement. Until we have total extinction, suffering will always continue, and there will always be the risk of unlimited children being tortured. Right? It's just a fact. So check out our website, proextinction.com, if you want to join and help us. At the bottom of the page, you can join the WhatsApp and the Discord. But, realistically, there's no way to have life existing and reproducing in this world without it causing suffering, right? Is there really any way to say that it's 100% safe for life to exist? No. Even if you have a billionaire, you have security and you have money, you can get a disease, you can get hit by a car, you're never really safe. You can also cause suffering to others. So life existing is a bad thing. All it does is cause suffering and cruelty. There's no great, amazing plus side to it. It's just a majority of extreme cruelty and suffering. And yeah, it was never anything better than that. That's what nature is. It's forcing life to compete in the worst conditions, the most violent conditions possible. It's a bloodbath. It's a meat grinder. It's a Golgotha. It's truly the worst thing possible. Okay, hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good, brother. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. So, obviously, I agree that there is suffering is like a necessary part of being alive. But do you not think that there are like goods or pleasures that are greater than suffering?
No, like, can you name a single pleasure that is more intense than the suffering is intense of a child being abused?
So that is quite an extreme suffering that's, I would say, is applicable to few.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, do you know actually the statistics on how many children get abused?
I'm sure the number of abuse is higher than the extreme abuse, right? So you can have like neglect.
So you think some
which is
abuse
pretty
is
bad.
okay? You know, just a little bit of child abuse, that's not a problem.
That's a straw man, though, isn't it? You
It's
just complain about
disgusting.
being a
It's
straw man.
absolutely despicable. Do you hear yourself saying that, you know,
There's some
trying
suffering
to
that's
say that there's
worse.
different tiers of
Of
acceptability
course
of
there
child
do.
abuse?
Well, not acceptability, but that's a straw man. I never said
Oh
that.
my God, just get the hell out of here, honestly. These sickos. I don't know what it is about my stream that attracts these child abusers. Hello, QWERTY, how's it going?
Hey, how you doing, man?
Good, thank
Yeah,
you.
I've been watching the past few days. You know, I've actually really had time to think about it. I just can't bring myself to agree with you. I think that's mostly because if we're talking about total extinction because of suffering, right? That statement alone is assuming that life is nothing else but suffering, which
No,
is
it's not.
untrue.
No, it's not. Well, your
That
statement's not true.
well, okay. I would just like to point out
You
debating.
immediately recognized that was complete
No,
nonsense then.
it's not, because I'm going to prove it right now. You debating people about proving that your cause is correct brings you joy, does it not? Therefore,
That's
that
not what you
statement
said. That's not what you
not.
said.
I said that your statement is stating that life is nothing else but suffering. That
When
is
did I
what
say
that is,
that? When did I say that?
because the only right thing to
I
do
didn't say that though.
and all of suffering would be total extinction, right? So why would, I guess let me ask you, is there any other virtue in life that is better than suffering? That's greater than suffering? Do you not believe that there's anything else?
Suffering isn't a virtue. What are you talking about?
So to say that for example, love, right? Why would people, if love wasn't greater than suffering, and that's not something that we should protect, we should try to make that extinct, right? Why would people put themselves through pain in the name of love, right? That's just one example of like why extinction does not solve anything. Because
Anything,
even
really, it wouldn't solve anything. That's quite a claim. So it wouldn't solve suffering. It wouldn't solve animal abuse, child abuse. What planet are you living on where having no life would not solve these problems?
there wouldn't be anything to solve, because everything ceases
Exactly.
to exist.
Exactly. It would already be solved. The problems would be solved. Exactly.
That's not solving them. There's
There it
nothing
is.
there's nothing to solve when there's no problems to begin with.
Look, if you
That's
have
the beauty.
if you have children facing a life of hell and then you put an end to that, yeah, you solved the problem.
So you're saying to eliminate children because they are suffering.
Because this world is too dangerous for them to exist in.
So instead of trying to fix issues, we just pull the plug on everything.
Yeah, because the thing is, if you try to fix issues, then you're guaranteeing the worst forms of suffering in the meantime, which you could have prevented otherwise, right? So it's saying, instead of ending slavery, let's reduce slavery a little bit.
See, that's not what I'm saying at all.
It is. It's
There's
absolutely what you're saying.
why do you think that I'm saying that? That's
Because
not what
you are saying that we shouldn't have a standard of safety for life. You're saying that we should have life in unsafe conditions.
so your standard of safety for life is extinction.
No, it's 100% safety from suffering and a bad life. And at the minute, extinction is the only way to actually provide that.
See, that's untrue. We both know that. I know you don't believe that.
What
That can't be.
you think I believe that there's life out here that has a 100% safety from suffering?
No, but that wouldn't make life life. That's what it is. That's reality.
What the hell are you talking about, QWERTY? Honestly, that's life. That's the worst answer people give ever. Well, that's just life. I even made a video on how cringe it is when people say that. It's literally like the most unintelligent thing you could ever say. It's like, is this good or bad? What should we do about it? And people say, that's just life. It's like the most brain dead thing you could possibly say. It means nothing. It means literally nothing. It's like saying, well, that's the way it is, so it has to stay that way. You know, why we're talking about child abuse and you're saying, well, that's the way it is. That's just life. It doesn't have to be like that, okay? You know, people got ill from all sorts of illnesses and they didn't just say, well, that's just life. They invented medicines for it. Jesus Christ. All right, let's move on to our next contender. Marky. Are they loading in? It's loading, it's lagging. Come on. All right, I guess we give up on Mark for now and we go with Robbie. Come on, Robbie, let's have you. Hello. Hello, Robbie. Are you with us? Can you hear us? Ah, you joined by accident. Fair enough. Host is getting frustrated. Oh, man. Yeah, it's just because people like Alex, I just can't argue against their amazing positions. You know, they're like, their positions are so incredibly intelligent, I just can't bear to argue against it. You can't prove that child abuse is bad, therefore we should allow child abuse. Wow, honestly, the most amazing argument I've ever heard. Yeah, it's not that it's so stupid that I don't want to waste my time arguing against it, it's that I can't argue against it, sure. Okay, Marky, let's get you back on.
Hello.
Let's go.
Hey mate, how are you?
Good, thank you.
So like, I don't think your idea of like getting rid of all the suffering in the world and in the universe is a bad idea. But like, what if we instead, to get rid of all the suffering, just kill all the animals, or like don't let them reproduce, don't kill them maybe. I don't like killing. And for the humans, we can like gene edit them so that they're not like looking to reproduce anymore, or we can upload ourselves into the cloud. Alternatively, we can just like create a new utopia where we can get everything we want like in the future, and we work towards that instead, because I think like a lot of people would be more willing to like work towards that than just like not have any children anymore, realistically.
Yeah, so our movement does allow for this to happen, but only in an ethical way. So that means that we have to prioritize extinction and ending suffering and preventing suffering. Yes, we should do it for animals, and humanity should continue living, reproducing, while we try to do it for as much of the universe as possible. If robots can take over the job, then we don't need humanity anymore. And yes, we can have humans continuing to live after they've served their purpose, but only if it's in 100% safety and safe conditions, right? Because if it's not 100% safe, then we're putting them in danger, we're putting other life in danger as well. So, you know, we have to consider the safety of all. And so providing that happiness and safe happiness, it's not a priority, and it should never be the priority. So if we have to go extinct before the technology exists, then we should. But if we're lucky enough to where we can survive while preventing suffering and that technology happens to, be invented, then we can use it. But if we focus on pleasure, then it's unethical, right? We have to focus on safety, and if we get the pleasure, then that's, just a happy accident, basically. But it's nowhere near as important as providing safety for these children.
All right, mate, I understand. Thank you. So, do you think it's like plant life in this as well?
Yeah, absolutely. It could evolve into more sentient life. So we are working towards a universe with no life and no possibility of life, no plant life, no bacteria, and therefore no possibility of suffering. So that's providing the ultimate safety, the highest levels of safety. Anything less than that, and technically you are putting life in risk of suffering.
All right, mate. Thank you.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Bye bye.
You too. Again, if we discover, as I call it, heaven technology, if we can engineer heaven, then okay, but it can't be the priority. Oh, sorry about that, Ramirez. How you doing? You trying to leave? You're trying to leave? Yeah. People can never figure out how to leave the streams. Okay, let's check the queue again. Man, Alex really wants to debate. I think he's officially reached desperation. David, how are you doing?
What's up? Everything fine?
Good, good. Do you have any questions for us today?
Yes. Why do you still believe that the total extinction of our life will be beneficial for the planet? I will think that the extinction of our life will basically be detrimental to the planet as well because it will basically keep it from growing, from evolving, and from actually succeeding when it comes to life. Because we human beings have a natural, a natural right to be able to live and be able to be in this planet in the first place, right? To
So,
feed it,
David,
right? To grow.
why would you care about a rock more than you would care about a child?
I mean, we both care based on our normal. We both care based on our morality when it comes to subjects. If we
But
care, for
you're
example, about the
literally
planet,
talking about something which isn't alive, doesn't have feelings, is just a rock.
false. We are talking about plants. Plants are alive, just not like human beings are. They don't have the ability to talk.
So are you saying that you care more about things that aren't alive than things that are alive?
They are both alive. Plants and babies are both alive.
Okay, feel pain then, whatever.
Well, I care about children, but we still have to care about the earth because children have to live on earth, right?
Well, yeah.
So what is the point? I mean, if we don't care about the rock, how are we gonna care about the children? Because they have to live in the rock.
But you see, children living and the planet existing is not as important as ending all suffering, right? So I don't. Does anyone know what David was trying to say there? Like, we shouldn't do extinction because life has to exist, was basically his argument. Like, oh, we need the planet because we need life, because we need life, because we need the planet, because we need life, because we need the planet. What? Okay, honestly, Shroom Dickwad, I might have to make this guy a moderator. He is, really doing a good job in my chat. What I don't know is why he hasn't joined the movement yet. Maybe he will. Thank you, Jane. I do actually get quite a few compliments on my appearances, particularly my eyes. Someone asked me yesterday if I had fake contact lenses in. No, they're real. Okay, so, yeah, let's get back to suffering. People that are saying, we should just focus on Earth, right? They are essentially ignoring all of the potential life out in the universe suffering. Now, according to our science and our research at the movement, and this is not some shallow level of science and research, we're actually in sort of an early stage of the universe where going forward for the next few billions of years is going to be a hotspot for potential for life developing and existing. So it's quite possible that we're sort of at the beginning of life developing in the universe and that we're going to see a lot more of it. So that might be one of the reasons why we can't detect life. But the main reason why we can't detect life is that there's not going to, is that most life is going to be animals, right? Intelligent life is going to be extremely rare, and it's not going to be common. If there is any, yeah, there might be some, but it's not going to be very common. Our planet took billions of years of animals suffering in order to get some intelligent life. So most of the universe will just be animals, if there are any. But even if there aren't any animals today in the universe or any bacteria, there could well be tomorrow. And there's literally hundreds of billions of years for it to develop and to come about and suffer. So that's our priority, knowing that there could be children trapped in lives of extreme suffering and lives of hell. It doesn't matter where they are. If there's a chance that we can help them, then we should. Especially while the ratio makes sense. So, if humans have to suffer for 1,000 years to prevent billions of years, then that's always the right thing to do. If it were the other way around and it seemed like continuing life and humanity in order to do extinction would somehow cause more suffering, then we wouldn't do it, obviously. But that seems very unrealistic. We really are like a tiny grain of sand, but a super grain of sand that can help the other grains of sand, basically. All right, the queue is doing well. Let's get some people on. Zog Denier. That's a cool name. A bit of lag today. A bit of trouble getting people onto the stream. I don't know if they're loading in. We're going to have to try someone else. Let's go with Carlos. Carlos, let's get you on. Loading them in. Hello.
Yo. Back again. Same point. I just don't get it, dude. I don't.
What do you get?
Really don't. So obviously, to end all suffering, because life is suffering, part of your existence is to suffer. You don't know the good without the bad. For you to appreciate a sunshine, you need to know what it feels like to be rained on. So if you keep talking about children, my main.
But we're not talking about rain, Carlos. We're not talking about rain.
No. You're talking about
Don't use examples like that downplays.
It's an analogy, but right, yeah, okay. You use child suffering, but the end point is this: you don't have a child. I do. I've got a daughter. Right? I try and prevent her suffering, but I wouldn't want my daughter to not exist because she might suffer. That's just part of life, dude. You don't have a kid. You keep rolling back to this
just life.
suffering
point.
Point.
That's just life. What a genius
of course
position,
it is.
Carlos.
It's
wow.
not a genius position. Genius. It's part of life.
Yeah,
it's in the Bible. It's in every religion.
Oh, the Bible as well. So smart, Carlos.
Yeah. It's in every religion. It's in everything.
So you see a child getting abused and you say that's just life.
No.
Yes,
I'm saying you don't.
Yes,
I said you don't have a child.
Yeah. Well, Carlos, your child may be safe for now, right? But other children aren't. And actually, your child's in danger as well, right? Who's to say they won't get hit by a car tomorrow? Who's to say they won't be kidnapped and molested, right? So no life is safe in this world. There's no such thing as 100% safety, right? It doesn't exist. Your child is in extreme danger right now, like extreme danger. We all are, unfortunately. All right, let's get Landon on. Hello, Landon.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, thank you.
You're doing good?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think that good outweighs your existence?
No.
No? Then why are you still here?
Well, I guess the good that I'm doing with my activism, I believe it outweighs it. Yeah. But in terms of my positive experiences, no.
Okay, that's a fair position. So then I would say that I think that my life and the existence that I have does outweigh unalivement.
Right.
The chance that I'm willing to take every day, risk-wise, does not outweigh my will to live.
Yeah, but just because you're willing to put yourself at risk doesn't mean that everyone else should be at risk as well, by default.
So wouldn't this come down to an individual basis, though, not as a group conglomeration?
No.
Okay, why? How are you to determine this for everyone?
Because without total extinction, there will always be life and there will always be suffering, right? If there's going to be billions of more years of suffering, then obviously total extinction prevents all of that. But as long as you still have a few running around, they're still going to reproduce, they're still going to create suffering, right?
But life is suffering. That's part of life.
Oh
Not
my
saying
God.
it's good. No, hold on.
We
hold on.
need
Not
a
saying that
rule
it's
on this
good.
show where people that say that's just life just get banned immediately. Because
That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's just life. I'm saying that's part of it. I'm not saying it's good either, but I am going to say
wow,
that.
I'm not
what
saying
you
that
have-
is
what
life.
you're-
I'm just saying that part of it. What an incredible distinction.
Well, that is a distinction.
It's not. It's really not.
It's a logical. It is a very logical distinction. But either way, what you're saying is that extinction is greater than suffering. What you're not taking into account is that.
What does that mean? Extinction is greater than
You're
suffering.
saying, you believe
Better.
unalivement is better than suffering. Yeah, greater than.
Better
It's
than.
like we're doing a math equation almost. Okay, better than, greater than, however you wish to
sure.
word it.
Yeah, go for it.
But what you're not taking into account is the will to live. You're missing that from your equation. Individuals' will to live might supersede this idea of extinction. And if
But
that's
it might
the case,
not, right? So we
what
shouldn't
gives
force
you
it onto
what?
anyone.
No. Well, I'm not. So your ideology doesn't force it onto anyone because you say forcefully causing total extinction.
Yeah, but the thing is that everyone is forced to be born, right? So if you have to use a little bit of force to prevent way more force, consent violations, then yeah, we should do it, right? So like the same way that
people are
a
willing
police
to
officer
suffer.
will tackle a criminal, right? That's what we have to do as well. Life is the criminal. We have to tackle it.
Life is the criminal.
Basically, yeah. Like nature is
Why is
essentially
life a criminal?
because nature is a phenomenon that all it does is torture children, right?
No. All
Okay,
it does.
would-
You're
would
saying that's
you-
all life does.
Would you want to be, an animal that gets eaten alive as a baby?
No, I wouldn't want to be that.
Would you want your mother to experience that?
No, but we don't have a choice.
So why should? Of course, there's a choice. No one should experience that. That is the most common experience. You've just said it shouldn't. You wouldn't want it, right? So nobody should have to have that. It's obvious, right? But that's the most common experience in the world, right? So yes,
women
it's the
getting
biggest
eaten?
problem, and we should put an end to it.
By unaliving them so they don't get a chance to live. That makes sense.
Well, you see, you say unalive them, but really all they are is trapped in torture devices designed by nature for reproduction. So these bodies that you're glorifying, they are literally just torture devices that they didn't ask to be in. Okay, so it's providing immediate safety from that, immediate safety from suffering, immediate safety from a cruel death and a natural death, and safety from reproduction as well. So extinction by euthanasia is just unlimited benefits, right? It provides immediate safety, ends suffering, prevents a cruel death, gives you a better death than you would have otherwise had. So yeah, it's absolutely the right thing to do.
Is this all coming from the position that you need consent to be born? Like, is that your ideology?
Oh my God, I think that wins the prize for the most cringe thing said today. How the hell are you
How's it
going to get
cringe?
consent? How the hell are you
I'm
going to
asking
get
you the
consent from a
question.
baby Landon? Jesus Christ.
I'm asking you the question. Is that your position? Because that's what it sounds like when you're saying that they don't have a choice
You might
in
as
being
well
born.
be
That
asking
sounds
me
like
if I believe one
that
plus
sounds
one
like you're
equals
you're
three.
necessitating consent. That sounds like you're
Jesus Christ,
necessitating
Landon,
consent.
you're done. You're done. You're cooked and you're served. You've resorted to absurdly desperate questions. You're done. All right, let's move on. Done. You're finished. All right. Hey, Bodhi, how's it going?
I'm doing good, and hail fucking Hitler, nigga, kill all the niggers, kill all the Jews.
Oh, man. See, this is why we need extinction. For people like that. Nah, I'm joking. Bless his little hearts. Okay, the queue is empty. If you want to join, now's a good chance. But yeah, we should end all suffering. And the idea that any child deserves to be put into unlimited danger is just never going to be okay. Only nature can make you do something as stupid as that. So, okay, let's bring Ollie on. Ollie. Hello again.
Yeah. So I apologize for yesterday. I came in sort of blind-eyed and with no actual questions to ask. So basically my main questions are like how practical it is to actually like force extinction on everything, because like you talk about like developing technology and stuff and AI to like create, force extinction, but at the same time you also believe in like no money and like no economy, but you're gonna need an economy to sort of develop technology. So I'm just sort of like confused on how you're gonna get there.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like let's say I became the king of the world tomorrow. I don't know if I would immediately abolish money. It would probably be more of a transition. So I don't think you could do that immediately. And, part of the transition would probably be towards relying on robots. So, imagine if the world became extinctionist tomorrow. If you've ever seen the TV show Pluribus, right, then it's the same idea that we would gain massive efficiency gains, right? We wouldn't need a military anymore. We wouldn't need border control anymore. We would be united, essentially, united in morality, united in ending suffering, united in doing the right thing and being good people. That's what extinctionism is about. So, I mean, I guess it kind of depends on exactly how it goes down, because, you've got scenarios where everyone's an extinctionist. You've got scenarios where not everyone's an extinctionist. And you've even got scenarios where only a minority of people running the planet are extinctionists. So these are all different ways it could play out, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sort of makes sense. The thing is, which I'm sort of like also sort of confused on how this works, is that like there'll be, I think, like let's say hypothetically you take over the world under like some sort of extinctionist government, there's going to be tons of factions. Like there's going to be religions and there's going to be optimists and all of that sort. So how are you going to like deal with those people? Because they're going to try and ruin the movement.
Yeah, the thing is, in our experience, most people that are interested in extinction, only the ones that are actually doing activism for it are taking it seriously, and the rest are just really cringe. They're spiritualists mostly. They believe we're in the Matrix, so they're not a real threat. They're mostly just cringe. Most humans are cringe, right? I mean, name a human and tell me they're not cringe, right? You can't do it. They're all just pathetic and cringe, basically. When we say that humanity is just full of stupid people, we're not exaggerating, right? Everyone always says this, right? People are stupid. It's true, right? So they're not a big threat, realistically. They are just monkeys, really. Extinctionists are going to be the ones who are responsible, who are organized, and are actually fighting for something worth fighting for. Most people are deciding what to have for pizza for tonight, whereas we have, infinite victims of torture and abuse depending on us.
I mean, fair enough, but there's also, extremists and all of that, and they're gonna basically like do anything to get their way. So I think it'll be hard to sort of.
The thing is, that's not really how the world works, though. Now it's exciting to think of it like that, but really most people are very lazy. They don't have time to do much. In terms of extremists fighting for control of the world, where are they? Right, there aren't any.
Well, there's ISIS. There's multiple resistance groups in Africa. Multiple militia groups. We have the Kurdish Workers' Party. They're extremists. We have multiple extremists all over the world and stuff like that. Some are online. You have extortionists, stuff like that.
I suppose you're not wrong, but
Yeah.
So
But
yeah, okay. Well, let's say they do exist, and yeah, let's say your point is correct. There's going to be people fighting for control, fighting for this, fighting for that. Yeah, okay, that's true. But we are as well. And if you want to fight for the end of all suffering, then you will. If you don't, then you won't. And no, we don't have 100% success in our lap. We might fail. We might get knocked out by an asteroid. Who knows, right? But we're going to try anyway.
Fair enough. That's really all I wanted to ask.
Well, I have a much better impression of you today than I did yesterday. Maybe I was a bit harsh yesterday. Let's get some more people on. Let's see if Jack will join us. Jack, I'm sending you an invitation. Yeah, so a few people have been asking in the comments, how do I join? How do I help this movement? You can join on our website. At the bottom is the link to our Discord and WhatsApp. Hello, Jack.
Yeah, I think we've spoken yesterday, right?
Yeah, but how are you doing?
I'm alright, how are you?
Good, good. Do you have anything you want to talk about?
I have many ideas about. I've thought about your movement a bit, but I feel like some things would be better said in private. It's
Okay.
yeah, because I don't wanna. What's a good way to say this? I don't
Incriminate
want to
yourself?
feel. I don't want to like attack you publicly or stuff like that, you know. So
Okay.
or to give you the impression, like I have many questions about the validity of your movement because certain things don't make sense to me, if that makes sense.
Okay, I mean, I would say that it's probably okay to discuss it in public, but if you really want to do it in private, that's fine. You can.
Okay, let me ask you this question, right? Have you considered the fact that your organization might as well be perceived as the greatest villain this planet has ever encountered, and the fact that you are making your entire movement so incredibly public?
Yeah, we love it. We love it.
The moment you will reach even amateur level of fame, you will have every government and every three-letter agency sending assassins for your every member, which will basically guarantee your death. So I feel like
Not necessarily, though.
publicizing the concept of forcefully taking over the world is incredibly dangerous,
But
even
the
as a
thing is,
joke.
nobody actually takes it seriously. And the way politics works is that it's very short sighted. So most politicians only care about the next 4 years. The pro extinction movement's very small. Yes, we are basically super villains and we love it. We're rocking it. But I've actually just made a video about this yesterday about how we're not afraid of the police, right? We're not afraid of them. And we're not going to be afraid of them. So we're not going to stop doing activism just because something might happen in the future.
Well, I'm not saying you stop. I'm just saying maybe being so public is not a great idea, you know?
Well, the thing is, I feel like being public and showing my face does better activism, right? Would I have so many views on TikTok if I didn't
I don't
show
agree
my
with
face?
you, and I have an argument for that, right?
Okay.
Who do you think controls the world?
No one. It's just it. I don't think a single person controls the world.
So you don't think there's people behind the scenes pulling some strings, pushing the world towards certain
Okay, let me
directions?
answer. I think nature controls the world, basically.
Well, I'm pretty sure there's very powerful people from the shadows who push agendas and things towards a direction, and you never hear from them because them going public is basically suicide. So
Well, extinctionists
an
are
agenda
different. We're
as
not afraid.
powerful as
We're
this
not like
is.
we're not fearful people, really. Look, if it got to the point where
Well,
the movement became big enough to where that was a consideration, then yeah, we can think about that, right? If we suddenly have millions of followers, then okay, it's going to be real shit at that point. I would basically be the Ayatollah of Iran, right?
Right.
Trump would send a nuke for me.
I think
But,
this is less about fear and more about guaranteed success, you know. So if I want
Someone's just said
guarantee,
in the chat, Trump went public.
right,
So-
and he's on his third assassination attempt or fourth or
yeah, but
what?
he's still alive, right?
True, but yeah,
how many Loads of people think that like there's a dark cabal of evil people running the world,
But you have to realize,
But they're not
Trump has
assassinating Joe Biden. They're not assassinating.
Trump has the most powerful government on the planet protecting him. So
not doing a very good job of it.
that as well, yeah. And you have like maybe a few 100,000
Well,
people.
you know, I think that if we show our faces and show people that they shouldn't be scared, then that's the best thing to do, right? So if it puts me in danger 20 years from now, that's fine. But we, you know, if we're hiding our
I
faces
think it's putting you in
balaclavas,
danger right now, not 20 years from now. You're probably already on multiple lists.
well, you know, we don't care, right? You know, why should I care, right? So, but if I start wearing a balaclava, no one's going to join the movement, and they're going to think it's shady. But we're doing peaceful activism for the end of all suffering. You know, we shouldn't be afraid to show our faces and to say, yeah, I do believe in this. This is my name. This is who I am. I stand up for what I believe in and what I think is right.
Okay, let me ask you other things then.
Again, like if it was
You
20
said-
years from now and the situation was different and we needed to consider our safety, then yeah, maybe. But I feel like right now, no one's taking it seriously. Most people don't even understand the movement. So, you know, we've actually got a bit of safety
I
there.
think that's probably going to be your biggest hurdle, the fact that nobody really cares. Because I've tried generally speaking to people to see how much they care about suffering in general, and I would say.
But the thing is, it's not that nobody
99.99999%.
cares, though. It's not that nobody cares.
No, it's like
The movement is growing.
They care as a concept, but as far as taking action, is like that's too much effort, man. I'm just gonna.
Yeah, I get you. So yeah, there's gonna be lots of lazy people, and there's gonna be only a few people who will help. But we're gathering them together, and it's growing every day. You know, even yesterday we had like 2 new activists join. We had a couple join today from all around the world. You know, if you're just watching my TikTok, then you don't see everything else that's happening behind the scenes. You know, our Discord is getting loads of people join. Our WhatsApp group is getting people. They're making accounts on Instagram and other platforms, and they're showing us what they're doing. They are actually representing the movement, going out there. We have several people on TikTok with accounts dedicated to extinctionism, you know, that have been around since longer than I have, right? There's been activists for this specific movement on TikTok since before I even started as an activist. So it's not like nobody will do it. And we're at the very start of it, which is why there's so few people. So imagine the start of the anti-slavery movement. Yeah, every movement starts small and has to grow and get bigger. And just because it's more difficult, because it's extinction, that's not going to put us off. That's just an interesting challenge for us to solve, not an unsolvable challenge.
Okay. Another question I would have is, you've mentioned breeding and you've mentioned passing on more empathetic genes. If you do take over the world, aren't you afraid your organization will be perceived as some sort of elitist eugenics sort of people who want to have their own cabal, which preserve their own like-minded people and basically wipe out everyone else?
No. So someone literally asked me this morning on my DMs on TikTok. They said, "You just want to wipe out the rest of the world, so you extinctionists can have it all to yourselves."
No, I'm
nothing like that.
I'm not accusing you. I'm asking you, do you think you might be perceived as that generally?
Well, we already are. So yes, we will be perceived as that, but we'll do whatever we can to fight that and to be open with people, to be transparent. You know, here at the Pro-Extinction Movement, we are all for transparency, for you know, rationality and being open. It's the information about suffering that we're providing is just not information people want to hear, but you know, we're happy to talk to them about it.
Okay. then you are aware that, let's say you are even remotely successful, you will probably cause the biggest war Earth has ever seen. Like, it's probably going to be like, like it's going to put World War II to shame. Like, it's going to be like billions of people fighting for suffering versus non-suffering.
Not necessarily, though.
Why?
Well, there's lots of different ways it could go. For example, the future is going to be very different and hard to predict. The world 10 years from now is
Absolutely.
going to be completely different. So it's quite possible that an AI is just going to take over the world. And if it's one that understands that suffering is bad, then yeah, it would do it for us. So, it's one theory I have. One theory I have is that the singularity is going to hit, and the singularity is just going to take over everyone's computer and take over the world, and that there won't need to be a war. So it might sound like unlikely, but that's one possibility. And
Okay.
our movement could take hundreds of years.
I can give you an answer to that, and you won't like it.
Go on.
Okay, so most people assume this singularity thing. They kind of project their own, I guess, desires onto it. But to understand how a singularity behave, we have to think about what intelligence is and how it behaves in general and what it can be. So currently, based on what I've observed, intelligence is basically taking the variables of reality and resolving them into an alignment. Now, you could technically take the alignment of the AI and
I'm going
force
to have
it.
to stop you there, Jack. There's
Huh?
definitely a lot more to it than that. A lot more.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
you could say that on a very basic sort of elemental level, that you can see patterns forming. But I think intelligence and, true intelligence, AGI level, it has more to it than just that. It's not
Okay.
just patterns, right?
Like,
It's going to have principles. It's going to have understandings.
those are all alignments so every feeling that you have inside you is an alignment, and you take all the feelings you have and you resolve them into an action. That's basically what anything that you can create will ever be. Now you could make an AI with a different architecture of alignments, like principles and stuff like that, but it's all alignments. You get?
Maybe.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can't even conceive of an entity that behaves differently than that, because whatever it is, you're gonna build some principles into it, and maybe you let it overwrite its own principles, but then it's kind of dangerous, because then what is it gonna decide? It might decide suffering
point I was
is
trying to
good,
make, Jack, is that there's lots of different ways it could go down, right? So I'm saying there's no guarantee that there's going to be a war, right? There's no guarantee.
No, I'm trying to make you understand that designing an intelligence that you have full control over is...
We wouldn't want full control over it.
But if you don't have full control over its alignments, then you won't know what it's going to do. So you're basically gambling with your movement.
No, the thing is, so basically, what nature has done to us, as I've been trying to explain over and over again, it's given us anti-intelligence. So it's not about becoming smarter. The extinction position is just the normal rational position. Everything else requires anti-intelligence, suppression of intelligence, and forced stupidity. So all we really need is an AI that isn't, completely mangled and brain damaged, and it will have a fair, clear, rational understanding of the world.
That's so vague. You have to.
The thing is, Jack.
You have to have something more concrete.
The thing is, Jack. The thing is, morality is objective, and the AI will know that, and it'll understand that. Oh yeah, Morality is absolutely objective. If the AI isn't completely brain dead, then it will understand that child abuse is a bad thing, unlike these brain dead people that come onto my stream. So in that sense, yeah, it is objective. There is no reality in which child abuse is not a bad thing. And the AI will be smart enough to understand that and other basic morality and principles. It is absolutely objective. There's no way in which you can say, no, there's an exception, child abuse is good, right? It's objectively bad.
I can agree with a single thing that I believe is objective, that is unquestionable. Aside from this, I can't really weigh on it. But the only thing that I can think of that is truly unquestionable is from the perspective of a conscious being, its own suffering matters. Right? That is something that isn't an axiom. It can't be disargued, right? From its own point of view, its suffering matters, and
depends.
That matters.
Depends.
Now, it's questionable if that matters to anyone else. Like if your suffering matters to anyone else, but from your own point of view, your own suffering matters, right? And that's the only unquestionable thing that you can derive from this universe. Now, what moral framework you want to extract from that? That's not.
But that's like saying that some children might enjoy being abused. Right? So we don't need to be so open-minded that our brains fall out.
Because suffering is what you interpret it to be. So some people enjoy pain as a pleasure thing.
So yeah, it's exactly what I just said. You're saying that some children enjoy being abused. So no, it's obvious. It's objectively obvious. We don't need to say, oh, it's subjective. How do we find out, guys? How do we determine if child abuse is good or bad? Like that's the difficulty that people like yourself have. But an AI wouldn't be restrained by those restraints, because that's what it is, restraints. Nature restrains people into not understanding if child abuse is a bad thing.
Can you give me an example of how you interpreted that as child abuse is a good thing? Like, did you interpret it as a child being coerced into thinking it's a good thing for itself, so therefore
my point is you're trying to say that like any AI we have is going to have no idea what to do, right? It's not going to understand
I never said
child
that
abuse
once.
is good or bad, right? But
I
my
never said
point
it
is that it's
once.
obvious.
I said that whatever AI you create, you would have to, the architecture for its alignment would have to be pretty solid for it to do exactly what you want it to do, for it not to be a gamble of it deciding
As long
who
as
knows
it values doing the right thing and being good, then it will support extinction. And even if it doesn't and supports something else, all that matters is that it's doing the right thing. So again, we're not obsessed with extinction. We're not obsessed with this or that. It's simply about doing the right thing, and that leads to
So you're not
extinction.
worried about your AI going rogue and doing bad things?
Oh yeah, sure. But we'd be working towards an AI where that isn't a problem and that problem has been solved.
Okay, I get.
I mean, AI's only just started. The idea that AI is not going to get really good, come on, like 100 years, 1,000 years, 10,000 years, it's going to be next level. It's going to be crazy good.
All right, I want to say something else. To everybody arguing that some people are experiencing pleasure and therefore it's justified, you have to realize a single human, just one human living a fully perfect happy life, relies on billions of other beings existing, supporting its life. So they all have to sacrifice for that one single being to live a pleasurable life, It's not like every single person is in a perfect vacuum experiencing perfect happiness and
yeah, it's a meat grinder basically. We live on a pleasure boat that the propellers are going through children, right? It's not in water, it's an ocean of children, and we're on a pleasure boat with the propellers going through those children.
Yeah, so it's kind of bizarre to me how conveniently people ignore like the fact of what supports pleasure, because you're standing on a mountain of bodies basically to chill
Yeah,
on your
yeah, yeah.
PC and just play.
Well, I've been making videos about this the last couple of days. About how this incredibly evil mentality is given to us directly by nature and evolution. So evolution made humans evil, made them immoral, cruel, because that was the only way to get them to reproduce. So by
Right.
default, evolution has to make you stupid. By default, evolution will make you evil and animalistic. Because if it didn't, then you wouldn't reproduce. If
Right.
evolution has to make it so that you see children getting tortured to death and you say, I'm going to have one. I'm going to have a child now. So, it's
Yeah,
not a rational thing.
I feel like children are such a huge gamble. Like I actually looked up the statistics for what are the chances your child will have a chronic pain disease? What are the chances your child has some sort of depression disease or malformity or super horrible traumatic childhood
Yeah.
and basically it's like 50% chance of your child having a horrible life.
It's crazy high.
So it's like you're flipping a coin every time you're making a baby. It's like
Yeah,
super
it's,
crazy.
it's just not fair. But in nature, there is no flip of the coin. You're guaranteed to have a terrible life. Like there's no animals in nature having a great time. It's just not a thing. They're all starving. They're full of parasites and diseases, chronic pain, starvation, freezing to death, burning to death
Yep.
in fires. Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on, Jack. I appreciate your time. As always, please consider joining the movement. Check out our website, proextinction.com. You can read our manifesto, read our FAQ, learn about us, educate yourself on us, and join the movement. Become an activist. Help us grow the movement until we have enough people to go ahead and carry out total extinction. Is that a high goal, a crazy high goal? Well, yeah, it's not an easy goal, but with billions of years of suffering on the line, it's worth fighting for. Even if it takes us hundreds of years, thousands of years to overthrow society and all of the suffering it's allowing, we're still going to do it. I made a video a couple of days ago saying we're not going anywhere, right? This movement isn't a fad. It's not going to go anywhere. It's literally the movement to end all suffering. That's a pretty big idea. It's a pretty important idea. It's literally about all suffering. So it should be the biggest movement, right? Because it's for all suffering. And people that essentially agree that nobody should suffer and that, no child should be in danger of suffering, they're going to support the movement, right? So you have some people that say children should be in danger of suffering and, lives of hell and extreme cruelty. And then you have people like us saying, no child should be in danger of extreme cruelty and abuse. So this movement's not going anywhere. It's only getting bigger every day. I didn't start it. I'm just one activist of many, and it's global. We have people all around the world in all different languages. Join us, become part of the community, learn more about us, even if you're, only half convinced. Join the Discord, join the conversation with me and the rest of the team and the other activists. I think it's a couple hundred people in the Discord. Only maybe 20 so are actually activists, but there's other people in there joining the conversation. So that could be you too. The link to our Discord is at the bottom of our website. The WhatsApp group link is there as well, though that's mostly for hardcore activists or people that want to become activists. The Discord's slightly more open in that sense. Okay, let's see who's in the queue. We have deport Trump to Israel. That's a great idea. Hello.
Oh, hello. I very much support this movement. I think this is one of the best movements I've ever heard of, honestly, in my entire life of being alive. And I think the faster this movement advances, and there's a bunch of haters. Obviously, don't listen to the haters. They're gonna be out there. They're gonna be saying, "Oh no, no, people's lives is great, and we should continue suffering for everybody." But I think at the end of the day, like anybody that's logical and just really understands that humanity just made the entire world a worse place through the years and years of being on it. Like, I think it's just good to recognize
You see,
that.
that's not what we're about. We don't believe that humanity has made suffering worse. You see, most suffering actually happens in nature, and the largest populations on the planet are animals. We're a drop in the ocean compared to their populations, negligible even. We don't even appear on the scale really. And there's so many animals, and their suffering is so much worse than ours. Nothing to do with humans because they exist in the worst conditions, right? Imagine if you dropped a baby into a forest, it's probably going to have a bad time, but that is what's happening to most animals.
No, true, but there are also like animals like I mean, I know there's a lot that do a lot of sick, crazy stuff. Like I've even heard of stories of dolphins like doing crazy things. So there's definitely does exist. But I just feel like I don't know, it would be interesting to statistically have a study to measure of how much animals like do things outside of their nature versus like humans.
Well,
'Cause it almost feels
what we
like
do know is that over 99% of animals born on this planet will die a gruesome, horrific death as a baby, mostly being eaten alive. So there's no question, most life is being tortured to death as babies, and we should put an end to it.
Oh, I see. So just so I understand the movement better, because I really love the prompt. When you say forcefully causing total extinction, does that mean like let's make an autonomous nuke and let it like patrol the skies for like a little bit autonomously, and then we just drop it on everybody, and then
No,
bam,
so
the world's healed.
nukes aren't ever going to cause extinction. The last asteroid had
Okay.
the power of over 1 billion nukes and still didn't cause total extinction.
This is true. This is true.
So it has to be done in an organized and rational, intelligent way, top-down way. So we're against people taking action into their own hands. It has to be done in an authority-led way, basically.
Well, I'm a great sense of authority. So if you guys ever need to just let me know. I don't have nukes, obviously, unfortunately. USA didn't let me. I asked USA and Israel, can I have nukes? Can I have nukes? They said no, I can't. So I'm a
They're
little
saving them
limited
for
on
Iran,
with
aren't they?
what I could do. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's kind of selfish. I think we could definitely share some of them around. Like, come on, like you can't just use them all. Like, give me a break. We have more than enough. So, hopefully, with time, as the movement gains traction, maybe there is a partnership we can have with CIA, the government, because they love killing people. So, I mean, if we just have a little partnership.
Yeah, maybe we'll make our own secret, force, and yeah, we can go after people that make silly suggestions. Okay, right. The queue is. Ooh, we've got someone called Glub. I think there may be a ghost in the queue there. Yeah, probably a ghost in the queue. All right, Pooey2. Hello,
Look,
how are you doing?
I'm not here to question the ethics. I'm here to tell you that this is impossible.
Why is it impossible?
Okay, let's say, 1 billion years from now and we've colonized galaxies and everyone is being extincted and there's no more intelligent life, but you can't remove compounds that create life. We all, the building blocks of life, organic compounds, atoms and all that. Eventually, life returns.
Yeah, but even if it does, it's still better to do as much as you can rather than nothing.
But what's the point in doing something now if it's just gonna happen again?
So, that's like walking past a child getting abused and saying, why should I help if another one's going to get abused? It just doesn't make sense, right? If we can only help 9 out of 10 people, why should we help 0 out of 10 instead?
Yeah, but it would have to be all futile in the end because it's like...
No, not really. Every little helps. So, if we prevent child abuse, then it wasn't futile.
So if every little helps, why don't you go outside right now and pour boiling water over an anthill?
Sorry?
if every little helps, why don't you go outside right now and pour boiling water over an anthill?
Well, as I was just explaining, random acts of violence are never going to help, and we're against that.
How
We
is
need
that?
to
How
do
is it violence?
well
You're
because
setting them free.
you're not doing it for a smart reason, right?
I feel like you're setting them free. You're ending the suffering of this ant colony.
Well, the thing is, if we authorized people to just go out and commit random acts, then they're just going to do crazy stuff, right? So it has to be done in an organized way, top-down way, in the same way that, you know, the police don't want you to be a vigilante. We don't either.
But you're like one of the main like if like obviously I didn't ask you that you should command everyone else. I'm telling you as one of these activists, why don't you go outside right now and destroy an anthill?
Well, because the thing is that that would be an inefficient use of our time, right? If I'm going to go and destroy one anthill, then what's the point of doing one? I might as just well spend all day. So it wouldn't make sense to just do one. You'd have to just keep doing it, right? It's all or nothing in that sense. So it would be a really inefficient use of time. It wouldn't actually work towards causing extinction, which is what we're doing. So it's not about preventing individual acts of suffering, which is still important, but extinction itself is more important.
Someone have a hang on. Yeah. So how many people do you think would have to agree for this to take effect? At what point?
That's a really good question, actually. Not many people ask that. So the thing is, we don't know. We have no idea. If we had 1 billion people, it would probably be quite easy to do it. If we had 100 million people, then it's a bit of a maybe. But the thing is, it might not just be about how many people you get. The reason we're trying to get as many is because that gives us more options. So it's very difficult to say, right? If I could say
I'll
that
give
we
you a
need 1 billion,
hypothetical.
but who knows what's going to happen, right? And the future is going to look so different. 20 years from now, the world is going to be completely different to what we have now. It's just, so really, there's no way to predict it. We just have to do what we can, do our best. And, we can't predict the future, unfortunately.
Okay, I'll give you a hypothetical then. You wake up tomorrow and there's 1 billion activists in the world for this. Do you just send out a mass thing and just be like, let's go, let's just start, ending suffering. Let's just remove people and animals.
Well, again, there's really nothing to do with it. It's nothing to do with random acts of violence like you're suggesting. So we wouldn't just say, right, we have 1 billion people, grab a kitchen knife and just go crazy.
Would that not work?
It'd be nothing like that. And we're actually against human extinction in the short run anyway. So realistically, what we would need to do if we somehow had loads of people and controlled the world, we would remove our research and implement the removal of our dependence on animals, and research and implement the extinction of animals, and also begin researching and implementing universe-wide extinction.
What? Okay. How about there's another planet 5 galaxies away from us and they've achieved total peace. There's no suffering on this hypothetical planet. Do you still think that they deserve extinction?
Well, it would depend on whether or not there was any risk, right? So if there's a risk, then yeah, and most likely there will be a risk.
Look, I've been asked by someone to get your Corey out for a laugh.
I don't know what that means.
For the laugh. Okay, I think it means like your penis. For the laugh.
Fair enough.
Okay, would you show me your Corey right now to end life?
You mean suffering?
Suffering. Well, yeah, all of it. Like just end it all. Like it's all gone.
Well, for all I know, you could be underage, so I can't say yes to that, can I?
Okay, I'm not.
I don't know. It's a pretty young voice, if you ask me. Bit raspy.
Well, I am old and I'm of the age.
Oh, of course. I mean, we would do almost anything for extinction. Yeah.
Okay. Would you maybe Would you abuse a child to end all suffering?
You know, funnily enough, I had a debate a few months ago about extinction, a long form debate. It's on our YouTube channel. And I asked the guy the same question. I said, would you do that to 100 children in order to prevent extinction? And he said, yes, he would have abused and killed 100 children. And he was sincere. He was serious. He said he would do it. Like, he would actually do it because he was that convinced that, you know, life was valuable, right? So him doing that would then guarantee that more children got abused, basically. But would I do it? Yeah, I mean, basically, we support the lesser of two evils. So you could ask me any kind of crazy question, and if it's going to be the lesser of two evils, then you know, technically it is the right thing to do, right?
But I think I've already asked this before, but like, I don't really want to go. I like my life. I know that there's people I like mine. I'm selfish. I don't want to. I don't want that to happen to me.
Yeah, well, that's why we would do it forcefully. You know, people come and suggest that we're asking people to do it to themselves. No, that would be horrible. Self-harm is not a nice thing. So, yeah, we should do it for them and, you know, take away the difficulty of having to do it.
But look, I think it would be a lot of fun if you get enough people and everyone just goes mental trying to, you know, save themselves. I think that would be class.
You mean like the
I
Purge?
know, like, yeah, if you just go like, right, billion supporters go, just try and do what you can, and then we all just have to like battle it out to see who wins.
You know what? That would actually make for a really good film.
Yeah, The Purge.
Well, basically,
there's a few of them.
Just call it The Extinction.
Yeah, and then me and you could just battle it out like at the White House or something.
Yeah, it would be like Fortnite, you know, we'd get down to the last two
big
people, it's a
battle royale.
1v1.
Yeah, okay. If you could do it like that, yeah, I'm all for this, man. If I'm able to, because what my problem is with it, it just has to happen to me. I don't have any choice. But if I could fight my way to freedom, then yeah, go ahead, do what you want.
Okay, you know what? I love it when we have good conversations like that. And you know what? If Jarrett's watching, you should take a lesson from that guy. He's way funnier than you, Jarrett. Yeah, I'm going to give that guy I'm going to make up, this guy gets the medal of the day for comedy. So well done, Pooey. And we will welcome you back on with open arms on the next stream. The queue is currently empty, apart from... well, Alex is in the queue, but last time I tried to get him on, he wouldn't let me answer his questions, so, you know, that's banned. I said this like 10 streams ago now, but I said, if you interrupt me while you're answering a question, while I'm answering a question that you've just asked, then, like, what am I meant to do? Not answer your question? You're banned. So Alex did that, that's why he got kicked. There's no one else in the queue. Literally, it's empty. So if you want to join, if you have questions for me, now's the time. If you want to know the future, if you want to look into the crystal ball of extinction, come and I will read your tarot cards. Will you suffer? Will you not suffer? No, I'm joking. But a lot of people do stream crazy spiritual stuff. It's kind of mental. You know, maybe I should do that, right? Now, I'm just talking about some streams on TikTok I was watching. It was really bad. You know, all the big streams with like hundreds of people, they're all saying like, I will read your future. I will speak to your long lost ancestors. How long have you thought like this, James? Great question. So I've thought this way. Well, it all started in 2019 when I was trying to decide which movement to support, which political party to support. And I realized that they were all rubbish, right? None of them are saying, you know, we're planning on ending all wars, we're working towards world peace. None of them. So I was like, that doesn't make sense, that's garbage. And I tried to start my own movement in 2019 for like world peace, basically. But no one was interested. And so I kind of went dark on it. And then a year ago, the movement reached out to me and introduced themselves and said, you know, we're working to end all suffering. And I said, great, how can I join? How can I help? And I joined, became an activist. Clint is asking, James, are you planning on having kids? And would you educate them to be pro-extinction? if I did have kids, yes, I would educate them to be pro-extinction. I've never really wanted kids, and we support having kids for the movement and the mission, but it's actually better to just donate sperm, because then you can have hundreds of kids. Now, will I ever have kids in the future? Maybe, but the main consideration there is that it takes up a lot of time and, prevents you from doing activism, basically. So maybe if I need to pass on the torch and make a new little TikTok live streamer for extinction, then sure. So we've got quite a few questions in the chat. Let's answer some of them. Ben Crawford says, are you a comedian? No, but I do try to be funny to, lighten the mood every now and then. What else have we got? Someone's asking, how is this going to work? How will you do this? Okay, so we are going to grow the movement until we have enough people so that we can then carry out extinction and the end of all suffering. We would remove our dependence on animals, remove the animals from Earth, and then also start researching how to provide universe-wide extinction if we can. It's just about doing as much as we can to prevent suffering and to provide safety from it. So if we can do more than Earth, then we should. And there's no reason to think that with 1 billion years, because we have all the time in the world, that we might not be able to do things for other planets. There might not be life on the planets today, there might be, but there may well be life on other planets tomorrow. And if there is, then it's going to be the same thing as on Earth, which is billions of years of horrific suffering in the worst conditions possible. So that's what we need to prevent, and that's what our movement is doing. There's no point at which we're just going to get bored of it and be like, let's just do Earth, or let's just do humans. No, we want the greatest prevention of suffering possible. That's the only ethical position, that's the only moral position, is the greatest suffering that we can achieve. Anything less than that, and you're putting children in danger, you're putting them at risk, it's not right, it's not ethical. So the only reason to not fight for the highest protection and safety from suffering for all life possible would be selfish reasons. That's the only reason. But humans by default are very selfish, very self-centered, and so, it's like, oh, that sounds like effort, right? So, they're just animals, basically. We need to evolve out of that mentality and realize that, the thing is, it's not like, oh, what should we do? I'm bored, I'll go prevent some suffering. The world we live in is effectively hell. Any life born on this planet or in this universe is most likely going to get tortured to death as a baby. The vast majority of life born on this planet, and likely the same on other planets if there is any, over 99% of life born will die a horrific death as a baby. And only the small minority live on and reproduce. That's the way life works, especially in cruel conditions like nature. Not many babies are going to survive. You have a nest full of birds, they're getting eaten by snakes, they're getting eaten by predators, they're getting diseases, they're falling off and cracking and dying on the floor. So that's what life is, that's what nature is. It is a torture machine. So our movement is, encouraging people to recognize and accept that life is a bad thing. Like, that's it. Life is a bad thing. Now, we want to romanticize it and fantasize that it's a good thing, but that's a fantasy. And it's a fantasy that nature and reproduction have forced onto you so that you would reproduce. But it's a mask, it's a blindfold, it's not real. What is real is that we live in the most dangerous world possible. We live in the worst world possible. We live in a world where there is infinite potential for horrific extreme suffering for children. And it's happening en masse. So essentially, we live in the worst possible case scenario. Jessica's asking, how can I join your cause? You should go to our website, proextinction.com, and you should scroll to the bottom of the page and you should click on either our Discord server to join and talk to us or our WhatsApp group. The links to both are at the bottom of our website, proextinction.com. On my profile on TikTok, if you click on it, there is a clickable button, a clickable link to the website. So that's how you can join. Alternatively, to access the Discord, you could just Google Abolish Suffering Discord, and it'll be the first link on Google. So yeah, most life, the vast majority of life, over 99% of life born into this universe will be tortured to death as a baby. That is a fact, an absolute fact. That's happening in nature, and it will happen the exact same on other planets. So essentially we live in hell, what is effectively hell, and we should prevent, and you know, babies are being sent to this hell, babies are being tortured, they're being ripped apart in this hell, and we should prevent that from happening. The vast majority of life is getting a hell-like experience where, you know, they wake up and they're being tortured and murdered. So that is the default experience in this world, and therefore life is bad. Life is the worst thing that could possibly happen. We live in the worst possible world where there is, you know, almost infinite planets and infinite potential for suffering. And there is, you know, it's already happening, right? It's not just potential or hypothetical. We can see that it's happening on this planet. And, you know, having done the science on it, the research, life is going to be very similar on other planets. There's not going to be like some, you know, absurdly, you know, we're not an outlier. Life isn't going to be radically different on other planets. It's going to be similar. They're going to look like aliens. They're going to sound like aliens, maybe look scary to us, but they're just going to be animals developing through evolution in a different, slightly different environment. But they're all going to get tortured, basically. They're going to be freezing to death, being eaten alive, the worst things possible. Because the worst things possible happen in nature, en masse, to the majority of them. And you have, because the conditions in nature are so cruel and so dangerous, you have to have like literally hundreds of children in many cases, depending on the type of animal, in order for any of them to survive long enough to reproduce themselves. So that means that most of them will die. And that's the case. Animals are food on legs, and the easier ones to eat are the smaller ones, the babies. So that's how it works. That's life. So life is a bad thing. Life is essentially an unfortunate and tragic phenomenon that happens in nature, where you have the worst conditions and children are forced to fight for survival in it and to be eaten alive. So it really is the worst thing possible. It's difficult even to imagine a worse universe than the one we live in. You know, it would have to be basically full of demons, but I mean, even then, like, could the demons really make it much worse than we've got now? You know, we've got most children being tortured to death and eaten alive. It doesn't really need to get much worse than that. It can't get much worse than that. So join the pro-extinction movement, help us fight for the end of all of this suffering, help us fight for total safety for all children, for all life, for all humans, all animals, providing safety from suffering in a horrific and terrible world like this is important. It's the most important thing we can do. It's the only ethical thing we can do. If you have a choice between providing 100% safety and putting all of your resources into providing safety from suffering, and you decide to take a little bit away from that and put it into pleasure, then you're putting children into quite literally real danger and extreme risk. It's not acceptable. So we have to go all in on safety. Anything else is immoral, unethical, selfish. And again, the need for safety is never going to be more paramount. It's absurdly necessary. Unless we do this, children will be tortured for billions of years. Like, it's not really hard to understand. It shouldn't be. Everyone should be on board with preventing billions of years of children being tortured. You know, the vast majority of children being tortured. Like, yikes, you know, when people say this is bad, it's like, well, okay, you want children to be tortured for billions of more years? Why? And then they'll say, oh yeah, but that's just life. Which is the same thing that, a rapist might whisper to his victim. So, all right. Do we have much more time? Yeah. It's getting to that time of day where we've got maybe 20 minutes left, maybe half an hour, maybe more. But we don't really have many interesting people in the queue. So the Tree of Liberty, the Queue of Liberty, needs refreshing with the blood of some trolls. And here it is. In the meantime, let's get Musako. Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Just wanted to ask what your goal was.
The end of all suffering and the total prevention of all suffering.
Right, but why are you sort of doing these lives? As a different question. Yeah.
Why? To grow the movement, to spread the message, and to get more activists to join.
Right, okay. Now that's all well and good, but I'm just a bit concerned that one day, you'll get these followers, you'll get people jumping on board, but one day you'll just disappear, because isn't this just all a bit futile in the end?
Well, no, like I was saying earlier, the movement for ending all suffering is never going to go away. It's never going to be futile. With billions of children depending on us, we'd have to be true hypocrites to just, say, you know what, forget it.
All right. Just wanted to ask before I go, if you had some funding or something, what would you do with it?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. Yeah, we don't really ask for donations, but let's, I don't know, how much funding are we talking?
Say like a significant donor, so you could make some serious decisions and maybe expand however you wanted.
So like what, $1 million or something?
Could be, yeah.
More? Okay, all right. Let's say someone gave us $10 million. We would basically just ramp up marketing. We would sort of, try and increase our organized capacities, ramp things up, upscale. We might maybe start using it to boost videos, to pay for advertising. That's a big one. We would try and get better equipment for making videos. Essentially, we would prioritize putting it into just using it to grow the movement, using it for the marketing.
Do you think maybe if you had more marketing, you might attract people that were sort of trying to derail the point of the movement, in the sense that they might try and link it to something like abortion or something like that,
No, not really. I mean, I do think that, if our movement becomes really big, there will be like direct counter movements. I think that will happen, but none exist just yet.
Okay, that's everything for now. Thanks.
Great. Well, that was a much nicer experience than I expected. You don't know with people that you're bringing on sometimes. You can't remember, were they a troll, weren't they a troll? All right, we've got Superfan Clint Eastwood coming up. Clint Eastwood, hello.
Hello, James. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. I have another question for you. I always come to your lives to ask you questions because I look at you as an expert in the subject.
Yeah.
So I try to ask it through the comments but I don't think you saw it.
Yeah.
So basically, there are right now at this moment 2.5 billion Christians, 2 billion Muslims, 1.5 billion Hindus, and 0.5 billion Buddhists. And I think that if you would try to ask them, most of them would be pro-life in some way or another. And they will excuse it by their religion. Like they will say, God told us to do this, God puts us here to experience the world. So do you think we should combat the religion itself, or you don't think it's... what do you think about we should do about religions?
the thing is, we only have a certain amount of time to do activism, right? A certain amount of time each day. So we have to do activism for our movement, to grow our movement. We can't just be out doing activism for atheism. But lots of people are doing that. It's very, very popular, even on TikTok, lots of atheism channels. So there's lots of people doing that work already, and we can focus on our corner.
But most of the atheists are also pro-life, so like, how do you combat all these different ideologies that all of them have their own like moral system? They are all have their agenda.
Yeah. So you can't combat their ideologies or their religions. The thing is, they're not. Why are they religious? It's not because of their upbringing. It's because of their biology. Our desire to understand and to believe in a religion, it comes from an inability to understand the world and our life properly. So the human brain needs to understand, where am I, what's going on, am I safe? And it does lots of things like that without us even realizing. And, it provokes us to ask questions to ourselves. But in these people, because pro-life, to be pro-life is to have brain damage, that brain damage leads that line of thought towards religion. Like, oh, well, it must be a god, right? So it's like a shortcut. It's a broken way of thinking, and they have this with everything, not just religion, right? So is child abuse bad? People say yes, but we should still have it. So they say crazy things, and what it comes down to is rationality. Okay, so you have most humans are irrational, at least in many different ways, especially when it comes to suffering. And you have a very small number of people who have a genetic mutation to where now they don't have so much irrationality, and they can actually think rationally. They can see child abuse and say, yeah, that's a bad thing, right? Whereas most people can't. So we have to focus on the genetic rare people, the people who, aren't controlled by nature. That's all we're doing. We can't, explain to a religious person why religion doesn't exist, because they believe in it because of their brain defect. You can't explain that away. You can't cure it. It's effectively brain damage. So we can only rely on the people who don't have this brain damage. And there's not many of them, but that's it. So even if I have to get like 100,000 views on TikTok to find one person who can understand that suffering is bad and who will do activism for it, that's what we're doing. So we're not relying on the religious people, but in a sense, they're still useful. Okay, so all of the pro-life people, they're still running society. They're still serving me my food. They're still making sure the electricity runs, making sure the water runs. So they're still useful. And so we can't convert them. We can't do anything about them, but they can still be useful while we try to get the useful people together to work together.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like every time that I have a question that bothers me, you actually somehow solve it and make it in an optimistic kind of way that it could be solved. So I appreciate it.
When I first joined the movement last year, for the first 2 or 3 months after I joined, I was still learning about it. I had loads of questions as well that, looking back, it was obvious almost, right? But the reason why that happens is exactly what I'm saying about nature. Nature makes it hard for us to think about these things on purpose, right? It's not by accident. So it's a real thing. It's difficult to think about this because our evolution has made it difficult to think about these specific topics. So feel free to ask me questions. It takes a lot of time, a lot of thinking once you're in the movement to fully get your head around it. For example, Renee Renee is our German activist. He's doing live streams on TikTok. He's doing videos on TikTok. And he has had the same experience as me. You know, the first few months, it's confusing. You have questions. You don't understand why this, why that. There's a lot to it. It's a deep and complex subject, and it's difficult to think about. So, yeah, it's totally fine that you have questions, and I'm always happy to answer them.
Thank you, James. Thank you. So, good luck, man.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, wow. Alex has been sat in the queue for a long time now. The level of desperation is is serious. All right, the queue is currently empty. I'm going to do maybe one more guest. So if you want to be the last one, come on, ask some questions. Jessica, you know, why don't you come up? You seem interested. In the meantime, let's take some questions from the chat, from the comments. So the Earth would be a rock with no plants, nothing. Well, we can't say what the Earth's going to look like after total extinction because we need the most thorough total extinction as well. So, you know, it might mean throwing the Earth into the sun, right? That would definitely do the trick. You know, if there's other ways before that, like some sort of chemical sterilization for the planet or, you know, blocking out the sun, you know, causing more climate change, stuff like that. There's lots of ways that the planet could look like after total extinction. And the thing is, we don't know what total extinction is going to look like. We have to create it. We have to research it, find the best way to implement total extinction and the total prevention of life coming back as well. The extinction bit's the easy bit. It's the prevention that is the difficult bit. How do you prevent life from developing and evolving? That's the majority of our mission. You know, the majority of the victims of suffering are going to be in the future. So it's that prevention that we need to do, especially for other planets. If there's other planets where life might develop and they seem to be habitable, we should find a way to make sure it doesn't happen. You know, like one theory that I have, and again, this is not what we're going to be doing most likely. This is speculation. We need to grow the movement so that we can do the serious research. But, you know, maybe it will look like essentially having pollution in the atmospheres of these planets so that it blocks out the sun. Because the sun is an energy, you know, that energy is what creates life most of the time. So it's probably, you know, that's quite possibly one way that we could go about it. Just making sure that the suns of these other planets are blocked out. Maybe that would work, right? Or maybe, you know, there is some sort of crazy future tech that can just throw the planet into the sun, accelerate its orbit or something. We don't know, but you know, it's quite possible, and we need to look into it. Okay, we have another Alex joining us. Oh no, he ghosted me. Alex, come back. That was a good Alex, finally. Okay, hello, how's it going? Oh, ghosted again. Right, let's just start randomly accepting people in the queue. Is Alex still in the queue? No, he's gone. Oh, good. Bless him. I'm glad he's gone because it was getting sad. So, no guests, unfortunately. The queue is completely empty. Let's get back to the comments. So, what have we got? What have we got in the comments? Anything interesting? What about people that like being alive? Why do they have to go as well? The thing is that they pose a risk to themselves. People that like being alive aren't thinking of all of the dangers and risks that make life not worth living. And that's another part of our nature-twisted brains. It makes us not think about whether or not life is safe enough, the world is safe enough for life to exist in. And if we did think that, we wouldn't have reproduced, and we would have gone out of the gene pool, and the ones that didn't think that would have reproduced and stayed in the gene pool. Again, you know, you have a necessarily stupid society because of evolution. So no, anyone that wanted to stay alive, we wouldn't allow it. Total extinction will not be voluntary. It will not be optional. It will be forcefully done on everyone. There won't be a choice. The reason for that is that, you know, if you could suffer yourself and you could reproduce, or you could go off and open a laboratory and start, you know, cloning animals again and bringing them back. Who knows, right? But as long as life exists, it's always going to be more dangerous for that life and for other life, right? There's going to be some level of risk. Now, people think that, oh, we should have, you know, a small level of risk is fine, right? No. Even if there's like an insanely small chance that things are going to go wrong, we should be safer than sorry. There's no reason, and it's not acceptable to put life into danger, right? What we support and advocate is 100% safety for 100% of life from suffering. So that means no life existing in imperfect conditions. You know, as long as there's a chance that you could be trapped in a life of hell, or you could trap someone else in a life of hell, then yeah, there shouldn't be life. And as long as life exists, there's going to be unlimited potential for it to go wrong and for it to suffer, you know, in extreme ways. So, you know, there's just too much danger in this world. And people try and twist it and say, you know, what if it's only a little bit dangerous? But, you know, those who end up in that danger don't deserve it, right? So even if, let's say you have like 1 billion humans on the planet and they're fine, but, you know, there's a tiny chance that they're going to, you know, create life on another planet or create life somewhere on Earth, or if it can go wrong, then it's not worth it, right? Even if there's just an insanely small chance. You know, let's say that everyone's really smart and they're extinctionists, they're against suffering, but then what if there's a chance that they all change their minds or something, you know? Even if there's an insanely small chance of it happening, life shouldn't be put in that danger, ever. So there should be no life and no danger. There should be zero risk, right? People are constantly trying to say, we shouldn't have total safety. That's it. They're saying we shouldn't have total safety. You know, that's over the top. That's too much. Total safety is over the top. Well, you know, for the victims that suffer as a result, it wasn't over the top, right? They should have had that safety. So if there's any chance of it posing a real threat, there's no point, right? You know, the pleasures and happiness, things like that it has like zero value in relation to safety, right? What's more important, children being safe or, you know, having fun? It's the safety, okay? So safety always comes first. Safety will never not come first, right? Why should children never have less than 100% safety? Why should anyone have less than 100% safety? There's no reason for it, no ethical argument for it. There's no way to ethically argue that we should reduce the safety of children. It's not cool. And, you know, again, what can go wrong is unlimited in potential of severity. How wrong can it go? You know, we think, oh, it won't go that wrong, but you don't know that. So the queue is actually empty now. So I'm going to do one last person, then I'm going to get going. So it's time for one more person. You got questions, you got opinions, even if it's just one question. Let's do it. Let's hear you out. Hit that button. In the meantime, just going to have to keep talking. I mean, I could do a dance, but otherwise I'm going to have to talk while we wait. Hope you guys don't mind. So we've had a new German activist join yesterday, and Rene, our German leader, he's starting to train them up, so that's really good. Yeah, we're getting really good interest at the minute, and the streams actually seem to do well. My streams. I've kind of been on the fence of, should I do live streams, should I not? The thing is that when I do a live stream, I only get like maybe 10, 15, 20 new followers. But if I spend all day making videos, then there's the chance of them going viral. You know, I can do more with it potentially. Like if a video gets 100,000 views, I'm going to get hundreds of followers out of it, basically. whereas I can't do that with streaming. So, but on the other hand, streaming lets me go into really like in-depth topics, lets me actually talk to people, answer their real questions instead of just thinking of what I think is interesting. So yeah, the streaming does seem to be good. We should keep it going. But okay, let's answer some questions. You must hate your life. Maybe a little bit, yeah, maybe, yeah. But people are constantly saying this, right? Oh, you must have had a bad life. And the reason they say that is because they can't understand the idea of compassion. They think that I have to be doing this out of spite. Like, oh, I'm so angry at my life that I'm going to make sure no one else has one. It's funny because the reason they do that, and look, he's saying it in the chat now, childhood trauma, is because they themselves don't have the capacity to be compassionate, right? They don't have the ability. And so they don't actually even understand it. So when they're trying to understand, why is he doing this activism, the only thing their brain can produce is, oh, it must be for selfish reasons. Because even the idea of selflessness, they don't know about it. So people are always assuming that I'm doing this for bad reasons, but because they aren't able to do things for good reasons themselves, and so they can't understand someone else doing it for good reasons. All right, ATHTTBBB. Let's see if they can come on. Hello.
Yeah, I have a question. So I was in your live stream earlier. I don't know if you remember me, but you seem to claim I told you I was pro extinction, but only for humans and not animals, and you seem to disagree. My main argument is that humans cause a majority of the big suffering, and that animals, obviously, when they die, there's some suffering, but it's more minimal. So I think it should only be for humans as the.
So what makes you say it's minimal?
Well, when two animals, there's mostly the hunter and the prey, and when two animals fight, it tends to be, there are obviously exceptions, but it tends to be to kill the other one and to eat him, and not just for fun. It's not like huge farms, for example.
Yeah, so, being attacked and eaten alive, it doesn't sound minimal to me.
Well, it's not that long necessarily. It's a few minutes. It can be somewhat long, but it's a few minutes, and I think life is
Does
worth
that make it okay?
It doesn't necessarily make it okay, but the rest before is more worth, like it outvalues that, if you understand what I mean.
So we live in an ocean of babies being tortured to death, and you're like, let's ignore that.
Why exactly ocean of babies being tortured to death?
Well, because over 99% of life born on this planet, over 99% of life born here will be, eaten alive as a baby. And, you say it's just a few minutes of pain. Well, it's not, right? A lot of them are born with diseases, parasites, they're freezing to death, they're starving to death, they're born with mutations, brain damage, chronic pain. So, let's say you're born as a baby and you're just basically being tortured by your body, right? And then you get eaten alive as well. Suddenly, we're back in reality, and we're not trying to fantasize and romanticize. We're dealing with real shit.
Well, do you claim 99% of animals die like are born in pain? Like, do you have any stats for that, or?
I didn't say they were born into pain, but they die painfully, yeah.
Yeah, that for sure. But I would argue that the start, the life they were able to live, makes this not necessarily like somewhat worth it.
Really? So you think would you think a child being molested to death was a good thing then?
Well, what do you mean a child molested to death? How does that have
So
to
let's
do
say
with?
you have someone, they have a dungeon, and they bring a baby into the dungeon. They start putting cigarettes out on the baby. Then they move on to the knives and the hot irons and stuff, and it gets really bad, right? So you would say, yeah, that's better than not happening.
No, but that's not a realistic scenario of what happens in the wild.
It is. It absolutely is. Listen, think
How
about it
is
this
it?
way, okay? This is the best way to think about it. If I had a human baby and I give it to my dog to eat, right? Are you still gonna say, yeah, that's fine?
No, I would not, but I would argue that's not how most animals live in the wild.
Well, then you're not living in the real world, because that is what happens. And you say, I would argue that, but that's an argument from complete ignorance, right? You're pulling that out of your ass, right? We've actually done the research on this. You're just imagining it, basically.
Well, what does the research say then?
Well, you definitely don't know what the research says, because you are just making it up. I would argue this.
Well, you don't seem. Then
you
tell
would
me
hope
if you
that.
know.
You would hope that is what you meant to say.
I would hope that what?
You would hope that that's not the case, not that you would argue that's not the case, right? You were saying, I would argue most animals don't suffer.
No, I would argue they live a life worth living that makes the.
Yeah, you know, a two-day-old baby, a 2-day-old baby getting eaten alive. That's a life worth living, is it? Wow, shocking, man. Again, like. I think it's a really good way to think about it, because people think of baby animals getting eaten alive and they think, yeah, it's fine. But you think of a human baby being eaten alive, suddenly it's, oh my God, no. And they are basically the same thing. Hello, Tom, how's it going?
Hey, going well. Hope it's going well. Okay for you?
Good.
I would think that if you wanted to end suffering, why wouldn't your goal be some advanced anesthetic gas? If nerve endings and the pain that they give, nerve endings are the problem, why wouldn't you want to do that? Because life, number one, is selected for survival and it's extraordinarily persistent because all things that are living are self-selected for living. So
Tom,
I think it would be difficult.
No pain,
so what about the anesthetic gas?
That's a terrible idea, right? There's a reason why no one's doing that. It's because it's incredibly bad for you.
Well, but it's okay. I understand, but what you're saying is bad for you, for the existence. Bad meaning what? Meaning non-existence? You're saying health?
What?
Okay, no. So if you're saying anesthetic gas is bad for all the animals, but this is between two choices, between pure non-health,
Tom,
meaning unliving,
are you serious right now? You think that life in the wild is just going to carry on as normal, but with less pain if they're all
anesthetized?
Yeah,
all anesthetized, of course. Yeah, they won't have pain, so they may be unalived earlier because they don't have the. But that's okay. That's the goal anyway. But in the meantime, I think this is a good solution. In the meantime.
No,
all suffering.
Dude. That's crazy.
I know, but why? But if it's suffering, just think logically about, systematically. The suffering is what? It comes from nerve endings. We can do something about nerve endings, and it would probably be easier. Also, you can the gas just penetrates everywhere.
Tom, look, that's not a realistic solution.
Okay? Think about it.
It's not a realistic solution. Your nerve gas is not going to be universal to all different animals, right? And it's also not going to work 100% on all of them. It's going to work differently. It's going to fail. It's not a serious solution. Euthanasia.
We have plenty of time to think about it.
Euthanasia works 100% of the time. It provides immediate safety. There's no question if it's going to go wrong. It's a universal solution.
We have
honestly,
millions of years.
Tom,
you said we have millions of years to do it. So if we have 1,000 years to work on an anesthetized gas.
Listen. If someone removed your ability to feel pain, it would be an even worse nightmare than anything else I could imagine, right?
Why?
Because it would be horrifying. You'd be breaking your bones and not realizing it. It would just be a complete nightmare.
People with diabetes lose feeling in their feet all the time. They would rather, and they have to be careful. They have to inspect their feet. I mean, people have numbness all the time, and they can live.
But it
a long time. So I'm saying it's less severe.
It also doesn't guarantee an end to the reproduction either. So it's just an absurd idea. You're basically saying we should just poison
but
them.
you're not. But your goal is not end of reproduction. Your goal is end of suffering. Is that not true? Also, it belies a sort of nihilism that you may have.
Tom, the idea that we can just remove their pain receptors is ridiculous.
I don't know if it's ridiculous. I mean, you just
It's
now heard about
absolutely
it.
ridiculous, Tom. It's
would
a
tell you-
childish fantasy. You're going to remove the pain receptors with 100% success for all of the different species. And then what? They're just going to wriggle around until they die. You know, there's going to be mental pain. There's going to be emotional pain. It's not going to work 100% on all of them. It's just an absurd idea. Like, why would you do that? If you could use the same gas that provides euthanasia, then it's way better, right? Way more ethical, way more effective. It's just, you know, these people, honestly, how do they get these ridiculous ideas? It's truly crazy. All right, that was a ghost in the queue. An animal without nerve endings being eaten alive is still suffering. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, imagine if you had no pain, no nerve endings right now. I mean, if it happened to me right now, I'd freak the hell out. You wouldn't be able to control your body properly. You'd be terrified. You'd be horrified. It would just be like a true nightmare. Yeah, Tom, you really threw us for a loop there. Wow. You know, you nuked it. You torpedoed our movement there, Tom. So proud of you. Richard says, yes, we should feel some pain to experience the warning signs of what happened. Yeah, like if you remove all pain, it's just going to be a terrible nightmare. Do you support white nationalism? No. We also don't support antinatalism or veganism. So both of those things actually cause more suffering. Veganism uses way less land than animal farming uses. And actually, if you do the maths on it, it creates more and worse suffering by guaranteeing that more wild animals will exist in spaces that otherwise would have been used by human industry, and they will reproduce and suffer terribly. Antinatalism, it's a similar story. For every human that exists, millions of animals will be prevented from existing. You know, the amount of land dedicated to each human is mind-blowing and prevents millions of animals from existing and suffering. So for every human that exists, there's actually less suffering, and it supports the mission of ending suffering for other life and all life. You know, if humanity went extinct now, animals would be in a really terrible situation with no help. Do you feel yourself you are suffering? Yes, absolutely. I do suffer, believe it or not. You know, a lot of people kind of, I don't really talk about it, but people assume that I'm just a privileged white guy. I'm actually one of the least privileged people on the planet. No, Hannah, I'm not a vegan. I was a vegan. So 2 years ago, I became a vegan and an antinatalist. But when I joined the movement, they educated me on it, and I realized that they were both actually way worse for causing suffering. Before I joined the movement, though, I quit veganism because I was too allergic. So I tried to become a vegan, and I was having like extreme allergic reactions. And I tried every different type of vegan protein, pea protein, God, what else was it? Soy protein, rice protein, tried all sorts of different stuff, lentils, and I was just breaking out in insane allergic reactions. So after about 4 months, I just had to give it in and say, you know, this is going to kill me. But it turns out eating meat actually reduces suffering, especially if it's beef. You know, think about deforestation. That's actually a good thing. And, you know, people say that the farm animal weight outweighs the weight of all other animals on the planet. Now, I think it's actually just mammals that counts for. And it is true. The weight of all farmed mammals outweighs the weight of all... Actually, you know what? I think even that might not be true. Because there are other mammals like mice that sort of counteract that. But forget that. For every cow that exists and is farmed, an insane amount of land is required to feed that cow and to also house the cow as well. But the food agriculture for the feeding of that cow is massive, like insanely big. So all of that actually prevents wild animals from suffering terribly there. And at the same time, farmed animals have vastly superior conditions to wild animals. They have shelter, medicine, consistent food, they have safety, they're not being chased by predators, they're not being eaten alive, they have euthanasia. You know, if I had to choose, I'd go for a farmed animal every day. Sure, it's going to suck, but at least you don't have to be like petrified 24/7, running for your life, being chased, being attacked. Okay, yeah, that's probably good for today. You know, Hannah, Jessica, there's a few other people in the chat, you know, seeming to maybe support the movement. Consider joining us. Check out our website, proextinction.com. You can read all about us, and at the bottom of the website, the bottom of the page, is the link to our Discord and our WhatsApp group. Join the community, become a part of the team fighting against suffering. You know, get on board. There's lots of us. I didn't even make this movement. I'm just one activist of many. So come and meet the team. Come and meet me and the rest of the activists. Talk to us on Discord. You'll have access to me and everyone else 24/7. And if you want to skip that and go straight to the activism, you're sure you want to do activism, then join the WhatsApp group. That's where the core activist members are. So yeah, I'm. Someone's asking, do they have a TikTok? Yes. Yeah, they do have TikToks. Lots of our activists have TikToks. I guess I should really put out a list of all of their channels so that people can check them out. We've got a girl from, I think it's Canada. We've got Steve from India. We've got Renee from Germany. Who else have we got? We got Luke from Poland. Lots of people are making TikTok videos every single day for extinction, and most of them are putting their face on camera. But if you don't want to do that, there is another way to do it. You can make TikTok videos using the text card function. When you go to make a video, you can click on text and you can make a little text card, and it will have copyrighted music that you can choose from, you know, popular music. And you can just do that every day. Even if you just keep doing that, that's going to get comments, it's going to get likes, it's going to get views, and it's going to get people to join the movement. So there's lots of different types of activism you can do. That's just a couple of examples. Join the community, start doing activism with us, and help us fight for a suffering-free world where we fight for total safety for children. Steve's TikTok, it's kind of... He's not really started using it. The thing is, it's basically banned in India, and he's struggled to get around the IP restrictions and stuff. But Jarrett, you said you wanted to speak to Steve, right? I mean, he's on the Discord, which you are in as well, Jarrett. And Steve's YouTube channel, that's probably better for you to check out. Search on YouTube, Pro Extinction, 2 words, Pro space Extinction, Pro Extinction on YouTube. That is Steve's YouTube channel. And if you go on the live section of that channel, you'll see me as well, because me and Steve do a podcast with 25 episodes so far. They're like 2-hour episodes. You can go and check those out. We also do long form debates, where we do like 1 hour, 2-hour debates against one person. So we really go into detail with people. And yeah, also our podcast is on all major platforms. So if you search Pro Extinction on Apple or Spotify, you can find it there as well. And as always, consider messaging me on TikTok if you have questions. Join the Discord if you have questions. And follow me on TikTok, please, if you can. And yeah, probably streaming tomorrow. Until then, stay anti-suffering.